Hey guys, thank you for tuning back in. I'm Edward with Everything Kayak. Be sure to follow, hit the like video on this one if you like it, and check out the notification bell. That way you can get hit up every time we post another video. Now, like the title says, this is going to be a run through of a fish finder install. We're going to focus on concepts and aspects. We are going to actually install one as we go through this video, but don't get hung up on what boat this is. Mine's not that. We're going to talk about some different features and things that we're going to come into. You will notice we have pre-drilled some things, put some bases on. We'll talk about those components thoroughly. We're just trying to not make this video 45 minutes for you guys. First up, what we're going to talk about is power. So the nice thing here, this device here is going to allow us to lock in this battery. This is, yes, a Hobie cradle, but the battery is sourced out separately. Make sure you got your dimensions. The biggest thing about our power source is where we're going to put it. This is nice and convenient here because it hangs the battery. We don't have any unnecessary chafing inside the hull, and we don't have to worry about our wire connections getting pulled because this is going to keep our battery stationary. The biggest thing with that, guys, you put a battery in there, let's make sure it's stationary so we've got control of that power source. We don't have to worry about losing any of our connections. The other things we're going to look at is how you're mounting that head unit regardless of who it is. This one, we are using the Yak Attack lock and load setup. It's a track program here. There's a lot of options on the market. This one is just a really quick in and out on the fish finder, so I really do like that concept. You can use the stock base that comes with these. Just remember, you're going to have to do some modifications to attach it directly to the kayak. Keep that in mind. From there, the transducer. So for this kayak, they have this nice handy plate. We are going to do another video about the Lowrance through-hole scupper mount. They've got the hardware, transducer goes on there. This is one style. The new Guardian systems from Hobie exist, as well as a plethora of options for where your transducer is going to hide on other boats. So just keep that in mind. You have to figure out whether you're going to go over the side or if that kayak has some kind of welling or plate underneath it to suffice keeping that transducer safe. Yes, there's a different style plates, different size transducers. You'll have to mitigate those concerns with the fish finder in which you choose. A couple things when doing the holes like this for these pass-throughs, hole saws are what we prefer here. I do understand not everybody has access or has them. You can use a unibit if you have access to that. Just it's getting to those sizes. This is going to be a little over, just a hair over an inch, a bit over an inch, and these are sized for the through holes that we're going to be doing on here. There's a couple companies that are going to do through holes. These are the two versions. They're available through Hobie. Even if you're not installing them on a Hobie, we really like these. This is going to be the backer ring, so this is going to push through the hole. This ring is going to secure it. We have a gasket. This is a surface mount. It's going to have 3 screws. It does still have a little gasket. These little bungs come out and fit, and we will touch base on those as we install them. Again, these are the through wire ports. That's something you need to think about if you're not doing a full surface mount transducer. We will go through that in another video talking about a box that contains everything and mounts off of. Another thing we're really going to suggest, this is dielectric grease, or also known as bulb grease in certain circles. The concept is it's going to cover those connectors. It's going to keep oxygen out, which is going to reduce the oxidization, which is going to limit the lifespan of those conductors. So now that we've dragged that out probably too far, we're going to go ahead and start doing this install, take you guys on this tour with us. Most of this is going to be real time, so there's going to be a little bit longer videos. You'll see down there, you can see the length of it. So first thing we're going to pull through, like we said, the transducer on this. So we're just going to start walking through. I'll try and talk to you guys as much as we can about details. Transducer wires are usually pretty stout. On this one, we've got a good opportunity because it already has a hole through. So keep in mind this was coiled up, so you want to be kind of nice because you may get somewhat of a knot in there. Remember, when we're doing these through holes, this is surface mount. This one's going to come through with that backer. Some components that have to go inside the boat Also, you want to make sure you can reach it. If you cannot reach it after you drill your hole, you're going to have some conflicts. These are going to be the inserts that I'm playing with now. So we took the block out, which you guys saw in here earlier. That's what it comes with. Completely closes the gap. We're going to remove that. We're going to go with this one. This is going to go on our wire like that. You'll have to finagle it, get it all square and flat, but that's going to help us stop any water intrusion. The other thing, this is on backwards, so make sure you put those on proper direction when you feed that. So the O-ring is going to sit to the top, so we're going to need to put that on first. Make sure you get it right. It's the whole lefty-loosey discussion where you try to picture it and actually do it as well. So also, guys, if you're commenting and you're watching, remember what we're looking at here is a general concept of an install. There's going to be specifics to this kayak, these manufacturers, and specifics to your kayak and the install that you do. All right, so the biggest thing I'll tell you, try not to lose this down the hole. You'll have to fight back for that later. So I'll give you a trick. Lost it. Sorry, guys, hold up. I'm going to use a little zip tie, but I'm going to take that O-ring, zip tie it to the cable, so when I pull up it's there, I don't lose it. We're going to set that transducer down. I'm going to suggest that you do not splice these. This is not going to be something you want to splice. We have not had any issues in the past coiling these up, causing any conflicts. Again, talk about being able to reach it. You're going to want to be able to reach everything through these pass-throughs here. If you can't, you do the surface mount. Yep, see, things like that. So we've got a nice little knot in there. We're going to push that through and take care of it on the other side. You want to also make sure you're not going to nick any of these. Yeah, let's pop that knot out before I forget about it. It's a lot of wire, guys. These are generally designed on boats, so we get a lot of line. Keep in mind also when you reached in that first time and pulled that wire where it's tracking. If you want it up into the gunnel, you want it around a scupper, you need to make sure you're routing it where you want, because like we said, it's a lot of line. You don't really want to have to re-pull it. All right, so again, this has got the backer ring. So we're going to stuff this through here, make sure we get it the right direction. And I'll show you guys, this is something we get a lot of concern about. So this is plastic, and this connector from Lowrance, it's a very tight fit. You're gonna have to push it on there. It's gonna take a little bit of force. What I suggest is make sure you put it on the right direction so you don't stress the threads on this backing ring too many times. And it's gonna make me look good here. Let's see, nope. Like I said, it's gonna be, let's see, oh, you guys almost got to watch me fall over. So again, like I said, we want to watch how we're stressing these threads. It should pop right over, but it's going to be a second here. All right, guys, so finally, when you do squeeze that over there, keep in mind you may need to use the flush mount versus the pass-through, the different pass-throughs instead of the one with the backer, but you'll have to play with that game when you get your transducer lines. So now we will push this through. Again, we have the gasket zip tied on there, so we'll have that. The reach thing we talked about is going to be important at this point now. So we'll bring this guy and the insert, and then we're going to have to crawl up over the top of this so we can get it set. Let's get rid of the zip tie real quick. Don't cut your transducer cable. They're a pricey aspect of that unit. So push this down here. insert. Make sure these on the right side. There we go, that. And pop this on there. So that's going to slip on. Slide in again. Make sure you get your little edges right. Takes a little finagling. O-ring on there. Push down a little bit. Sit this here. Now, nice thing is you're gonna have to hold this while you come in here and fight for that ring. So give me a second. It's kind of in the dark kind of program. Take your time, get the threads on there, go slow, get it right. We're gonna get down into this real quick. Remember, you don't want to cross thread it. You want to get it on there. It's going to take a minute to get though, so keep that in mind. We just about got it. So close. All right, there we go. So also we talked about getting these lined up. If you can't get them to square up, there we go. Keep in mind that you may have to pull that off and square it up again. So with this one, we had that transducer plate. That just fixes back with the same 3 screws when it came off. So we're not going to get too crazy into that. But we have our pass-through, the bung's in there, gaskets on it, and the backer ring is on it. So as for our transducer wire, generally what we'll do is we'll bundle all this up, tuck it off on the side, put your support foam back in. So at this moment, we are going to come up here, just kind of pull us a little length out so we can hang on to that. When we get all this set, you want to leave a little extra length, and then we'll bundle all this up. But we'll get to that bundling up here soon. What we're going to talk about now, so this is the power line for this Lowrance unit. And you're going to have 2 wires. One is essentially a comm wire. If you're doing a different style setup, the important one you want are the red and black. So with those, what we're going to do is we're going to feed this back through. Keep in mind our transducer wire for this setup is coming from the back. Our power is going to go to the front. So we're going to push these guys in here, and then we'll set this battery out of the way, all the way out of the way. Reach down in here, find our lines, and work them back. So one thing you want to keep in mind is where we're doing this install, so this is going to allow, we've got length here. We're going to have, we should have plenty of play. We're going to put some extensions on here because we want to make sure that if you move that fish finder closer, higher, or further back, that you're going to have enough here to do what you need to do without having to worry about pulling this and pulling these connections off. So we're going to do this pass through here, and then we'll come back and we'll start talking about these wire connections that we've got up front here. So this one that we're looking at here has the 3 inserts on it, and what we're going to do is we have 2 wires on one on the other. These will only support up to 2 wires per, so we're going to go ahead and pop these out, drop them all over the place. That way we can use them for the install. Let's see, make sure we get the H up. All right. So, and also remember it's got that gasket. Keep track of that. Let's try to lose that. So we're gonna pick the right one here, hopefully. There we go. That one's gonna do it. Digging through, guys. All right. So this is going to get installed right over this. What we're going to do first is I'm going to set this in place, and then I'm going to mark those holes so we can drill them out. Again, guys, whenever you were drilling in these boats, especially like when we did the drilling for these through holes, you want to always make sure that you're checking for any kind of internal rudder line. So one to keep in mind is that when we're looking at this recesses, so there's a step down inside of here that you want to make sure that when you drill that hole with that hole saw or that step bit, you're not going to encounter any issues there with hitting something that's not going to allow you to push through what you need to push through. So started that, I'm going to pop a small hole there, just so those little screws, they do have a little point on them, but we want to make sure that they stay in the position that we want them. We'll try this one more time. All right, there we go. So again, also, but we have these transducer lines, this power line. We do not want to have to replace these, so we're going to try not to stab a hole through them because that would be great. So again, this is going to be a smaller hole than what we're going to be using to screw that pass-through in, but it's going to give us the availability, let's get the right ones, to get that started and not have to worry about it traveling on us. So again, gasket. So we're going to push these short so they're easier to work with. That gasket over the top of them. And we'll zip tie these up, clean them all up later, but right now we're going to let them hang. So our gasket's going to get on there. And I want the double, let's see, do that like that. Drop that on there. Okay. And the single. So this is going to go from the outside. Again, like I said, these can be a little aggravating at times, but you'll get it worked out, get them pushed through and set in there. Now, come into the gasket, set the gasket back up to it, find our H, get it upright, get it about lined up. Find our screws. I'm going to put this one in by hand. These screws are really short. They do hold enough for what they're designed for, but you want to keep in mind, with as short as they are there, that we want to be able to not overturn them into that plastic and strip it out. If you do, it's not the end of the world. You're just going to have to upsize your screw to grab a little bit of that plastic so you don't have to worry about it pulling out. Everybody locked in. Just keep it on your gasket, get everybody pushed down. Nice thing about these pass-throughs, so we went short because what we'll be able to do is we can pull out that wire to the length that we want, and it should not pull that bung, but pushing in, you can get a little bit of weird. We can see, there we go. That one's sitting a little crooked, but we will straighten those out, fit and finish. So now we've got these wires out. That is our transducer line and our power line. These are going to go up to our head unit. So now we're going to move on to this guy here. Now there is, like we said, there's two wires here. Let's fish that one out. What I will generally do is we have actually capped this one. It's going to have an assortment of wires, a yellow, a shield, a ground, a couple different things going on in there. What I'll usually do is we're going to fold that back and we're going to zip tie that to the power line. We're not currently using it. I don't want to, you can cut it off as well. I'll be honest with you, some customers spec, what we do is we cut it off over here at the connector. And what that allows us to do is we'll shrink tube it there, zip tie it, and then we only have to use one pass through. But at this point, it's kind of personal choice. I don't make that call for a customer, so we let them kind of make that call. So we're going to lock this down. And a big pet peeve of mine is tails on the zip ties. We want to make sure that we are clipping those off. Doesn't hurt anything. It's just a cleaner look. We get those cut off. When you cut them off, keep in mind though, they can be kind of sharp. So always pay attention to that when you cut them. So now what that's got us is a little bit cleaner line here, what we're looking at. So we have our red and black here. So what we're going to play with is, this fish finder came with a fuse. I'm going to grab a couple things and sit over here for us. this setup came with a fuse. We've got that guy there. We're going to put that in line. We said we wanted a little extra length, so we've got some wire here we're going to play with, and then we've got some heat shrink butt splices. So what these do, it's got the metal insert. We're going to crimp that to make our connection, and then we're going to heat that up, and that tube is going to shrink up around the wire connectors. Well, keep in mind though, there are different grades of these. You do not have to use the shrink tube. I do suggest, again, we use some dielectric grease inside of that connection. You can shrink tube over the top of non-shrink tube ones. There's a lot of variations. And then there's also a lot of options of different styles. You have some that are shrink. They do shrink, but they do not have any, they don't have any adhesive inside of them. When they don't have any adhesive inside of them, they work just fine. But, and this is gonna squirt out of here when we heat this, but it's going to give us a little bit down in that connection. One last tool. And a lot of these guys, especially on the crimpers, we're going to have ratings for the size of crimp, whether it's insulated, non-insulated. These are going to be considered insulated because there is plastic or shrink or whatever over the outside of that, depending on the style that you have. I always tug on mine, make sure they're good to go. So now we'll show you this. We're not going to focus too much on the next ones. You are supposed to use a heat gun for these guys. If you, with an open flame, we can affect the insulation. So if you are using an open flame, let's pay close attention to it and make sure that we are not causing any issues. So this is going to shrink down. Usually what you'll see is you'll get a consistent color. When we look through this, it'll get hazy, then it'll clean up and almost look like magnified. That's about where you're at. And we can see that dielectric coming out as it shrinks down. So we want to make sure we don't overdo that. If it starts flaring up at the end, or you're getting anything dark on your wire, it's too hot, you do stand the risk of damaging that. All right, so now what we talked about was making an extension here. So this has a crimp on it. Somebody put that on there already. We're going to clip that off and put a press on there. But what we are going to do is we're going to get a length of wire and go ahead and set this up so we can match those lengths, and we don't have to worry about pulling against any of our connections when we are pulling on that wire, because we want that fish finder a little closer to us. We didn't really like where it was. Other than that, hopefully that'll travel down in, gets us down in there. Again, this is an insulated, so we want to make sure that we're using the insulated section to crimp those. Crimp it good. Like I said, I like to pull on it, make sure we don't have any issues there. Stuff can be a bit of a mess. If you have a smaller tube, it's nice because you can actually get it down in there. This is what I have at the shop here. So it's a bit of a big nozzle, but we make it work. Make sure, like what we're looking at here, that we're not going to push down these conductors and not get a good connection. Looks like this one's had a little bit of a rough life. So we're going to take those off, start that over. All right, so now that none of them are rolled back, we're not going to lose any of those conductors in there. Get it set on good, and then we'll crimp it. So that gets us a good crimp. Pull on it, make sure it's good, and then we will shrink that down once I quit losing everything I'm using. I have a bad habit of putting things back where I found them, and fortunately it makes installs a little longer for me sometimes. So we're just gonna, same process as last time, guys. Again, pay attention. If you use an open flame, we do not want to burn that wire, which is why I will suggest what you're supposed to use is a heat gun. Honestly, for the video, the heat gun's kind of loud. Let's keep the lighter over here. We tend to be using it. We're gonna sit it on our stool there. So we'll come up here, Like I said, this we're going to cut off. Our battery is going to have the tabs on it. These little press-on tabs right there. So we are going to use press-on connectors. Now, something I'll show you. This press-on connector is insulated on the back with that blue plastic. The front of it was open. So what these have is these have shrink tube over the top of them. Unfortunately, we didn't have them in. These are going to get cut off after the video. I'll be honest with you. They're going to get cut off. We're going to put insulated ones. But if you guys don't have access to insulated press-ons, you can shrink tube the top there. It's a nice little trick you can play with. So, and again, we're going to start with this positive side because we have a limited length on it. Make sure when you're stripping that wire, you're not clipping a bunch of the conductors on the inside there, guys. We do not want to lose any of those. Again, we're going to plug a little dielectric grease in there. Pop that in, and then use our crimpers here and hit that. All right, now, okay, so what we just did there, we crimped it, we pulled it, and it came out. Keep that in mind. Always pull on those connections. You want to make sure that you're getting a proper set. All right. Again, little dielectric. It said it's a little messy, guys, but I definitely suggest what we're going to do here. We're going to see where that wire's sitting at. That's good enough. And we'll crimp it again. So like I said, pay attention to your crimps. Pull on them, check them. All right, so that one's nice and good there. So let's get another press-on connector and square everybody up. Off. All right. I know it's real exhilarating, guys, but we're going to walk through everything, make sure that's good. I'll bring that back a little bit more. Again, like we said, make sure that you're not getting any fold back on those connectors. We're not going to crimp with that. Lock it down good. Pull on it. Make sure that you're good there. Now, what we're also going to do here is I will usually zip tie these together. All right. So, keeping the leads clean. Just want to dangle. Another thing I'll tell you to try and consider is keep in mind on where your contacts are sitting. So if we have any butt splices in here, any connectors, try and make sure they're not sitting in the bottom of the kayak. All of them are going to get some kind of moisture in them, and that's just going to come from condensation. Doesn't mean your boat's going to sink, but we want to keep that in mind. We want to keep an eye on that, because the connector's sitting in the water, it's going to have a shorter lifespan than if it is not sitting in the water. Put a couple of these on here. Maybe a little overkill, guys. I like them to be neat. I like everything to have a home and a place. Okay, so this is our fuse holder. Does not have a fuse in it. I don't like to do this with the fuse. We'll get everything done together. We'll put that fuse in last when we come into it. So with that said, we are going to sit this down and let that ride for a minute. We're going to come back here to our fish finder. Another thing, you want to watch, make sure you're not overdoing it, because you can affect how well that connector is going to fit into that unit. We're going to go to the male pins, put just a little bit on the end, and what will happen is when we insert that into the fish finder, that will allow us, it'll slide down in there. Let you guys take a peek at what we're looking at here. Maybe that'll stay. So we got the female side and the male side. So again, We just want to coat each pin. This is going to drastically extend the lifespan of your fish finder connections. The pins, to be honest with you, the male side we don't usually have too much of an issue. These are all going to line up, by the way. Make sure you take a peek at your connectors. The female side of these, that little collar in there, is usually what we lose, and it gets to a point where it kind of works its way back and it doesn't allow for a good connection. From there, we talk about that. We're going to pull on these like we talked about. We're going to hold that bung back a little bit. A little bit more. Not drop this unit down to the floor. Okay. Try and keep them kind of even. All right, so this isn't bad. I usually like to route them around that, which is going to require a bit more wire. And this is why we wanted to make sure we had plenty of link inside the hull. Again, we have not done anything with our transducer line inside. We will get to that. We're going to dress this up and then we'll get into that line. Let me not talk with a zip tie in my mouth. All right. So with that, guys, talking about the unit here, what we looked at was we made sure we had some dielectric grease in these connections. Like I said, that is going to drastically increase the lifespan of the connectors for your fish finder. This is all personal choice here. It's just going to tidy it up, keep those wires just, they look a little better. Like I said, personal choice. Not everybody wants to do it. Not everybody wants to deal with it. But we try to make sure that all of these installs come through clean and everything's just dressed up the way it should be. I will also give you a little hint, like you said, when we cut these off, this edge can be a little sharp. You can hit that, clip it. I also like to roll them around because I don't really like looking at them. Adjust that wire, comes down nice. So something we'll also talk about, this is specific to this kayak, is where this placement is. This is going to be inside the pocket if they do a pocket on this boat. And that's going to be nice because it can be nice and tight. And when you disconnect your lines, you can roll them up into that pocket and not have to worry about where you're going to hide them if you're not running your fish finder. So now that we've done this, before we fight inside that hatch to tidy everything up, we do have our 3 amp fuse that was supplied with the fish finder, as well as this, I got lost here. The fuse holder here was also supplied with the fish finder. So we'll drop this in there. Say that. Also, guys, keep in mind, we talk about like how long it took to try and get that collar over that connector to get that pass through in there. Every install is going to be a little different. You're going to have to kind of deal with that. So we're going to connect to our battery. This battery has been charged and we have tested it to make sure that we are good. So from here, we're going to make connections. That is not how that battery lays, but that's going to give us the opportunity. She turned in here. Let's hope and that we get some juice, guys. Look at that. All right. So turn it down a little bit. I don't know how much you guys are going to be able to see there. But with that, we've got power. So that's a good sign. Our transducer read is going to be somewhat kind of crazy because it's not in the water. Let's see. Let's let it boot all the way up though. Get out of the screen. We'll give that a minute. Hold up. So I get grease all over the boat. Now at this point, guys, some units take a lot longer than others, but this may or may not, let's see, enter demo mode. We're not going to enter demo mode because I don't want it stuck in that. You can tell this is a fresh unit. It wants to know language. Disclaimer, do you want to run the setup wizard? We're going to go with no today, but we're going to see our reading is a little crazy. That's because our transducer has oxygen around it and it's not in the water. The transducer functionalities you'll have to test after you get in the water. But right now we're hitting what we want in the sense of we have juice on the unit. I want to make sure we have a little slack in here. Yes, we've got plenty of slack. So if this customer decides they want to move this, they want it closer, further away, whatever they want to do with it, they're going to have the availability to make that transition. So now with this battery here, we're going to turn it off eventually. Does not like me today. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna turn the unit off. I'm also gonna disconnect. This isn't a have to. I'm gonna disconnect my power before I start playing over here, because with these terminals, we can get, we don't wanna arc anything, cause any problems. So we talked about trying to keep these connections up. This battery is gonna sit in this carriage, like so. Turn it this way. So what I like to do is keep these wires. You can run them through this collar if you want. It's not a bad idea. We may do that later on. But I want it accessible. I want enough length where I can sit this battery up. And since the whole carriage comes out, we're going to play with it this way. Make my connections. Sit that battery in the hatch. We'll have to go this way because of the locking mechanism on the hatch. Drop that down. So that's good to go. We do not have a lot of excess slack on our power line, so we're not going to need to bundle that up. We will reach in there and take a look at it and see what kind of mess it is. We do have all this transducer line we're playing with. So we are barely drooping to the hull of the bottom of that kayak with that power line. So that's going to be enough. If we want to make an adjustment, we can probably pull a good 6 to 8 inches still, not affect our connections up front. So with this mess here, what we generally like to do is we're going to work everything out. We'll find our middle point and then bundle it. So some of these kayaks, guys, you're going to have some foam inside. That's going to support the floor because of the weight transfers between the deck and the hull. What I'll generally do is push these to the outside of that foam. So we're going to bundle up like so. And because I forgot to get real zip ties, I just have these little babies. We're going to put a couple of these together. And then off camera, I'm going to cut them out and put a big zip tie on it. Again, we do not want to pull this super tight against where it comes out for the transducer. We want a little bit of play because that's going to allow us to adjust the location of that transducer in the future without putting any undue stress against this setup. So I'm not going to trim these tails because, like I said, I'm going to cut this out of here and put a real one on it. But we're going to take this, we're going to tuck it back to that side. And then when we put that foam back in there, that's going to push it out of the way. And now at any point in time, if we insert any gear, the bucket or anything into this hatch, that foam will be between that transducer wire and the accessible section of that kayak. So we don't have to worry about hitting it or clipping it or anything like that. So guys, lots of fun. I do enjoy the installs. We will tell you what, since we've been playing with our wire, let's give it a double check. Let's hook that back up. We will get you more in that direction. And we've got juice. So guys, with that, that is the majority of a walkthrough on the install for the for Fish Finder. Keep in mind, every boat's different, your units are different, your components are different, so there's going to be variations to each install. What I will tell you is if you do an install and it doesn't work, you don't get juice coming out, if you don't have a voltmeter to check your connections, what you want to do first is check your battery, make sure your battery's good. After that, 9 times out of 10, it is a connection. Maybe we didn't strip the wire back good enough. Maybe we crimped it, it pushed itself out of that butt splice or something like that. Just keep those things in mind before you go to trade your unit in because you think it's a faulty unit. Check your setup, check your wiring, check your power source. Not to say units don't have troubles. I've definitely had my fair share with personal units, but you know, check your bases first. So guys, thank you for holding out for this very exaggerated video. We don't put a whole lot of long videos out, but those of you that stuck through it, we appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in. If you have any comments or any questions, you can always call us at the shop here in-house, 228-865-1000. Little number issue there. Or, you know, comment, we'll hit you back and see what we can help you out with. Cheers, guys.